Part 10, Act 5 Nightmare. Coming down for the final act for Nightmare. Thankfully, our assassin is equipped for the cold weather. We reach Shank and have some fun with Death Sentry. And double antlers? A blue and a green antler, perfect for only a druid. I make another Andariel pit stop before continuing through Act 5 and find Natalia's boots. 40 fast to run walk and the resistances are excellent. My current amulet is an all resistances 6 with life replenish of 4, so I decided to take a gamble and create my own prismatic amulet. With one of each perfect gem and an amulet creates a prismatic amulet. This one is significantly better with 16 life replenish and 19 all resistances. Another Andy kill and we get Colwyn's Point. Colwyn's Point would be a great weapon on a budget if I didn't already have Spirit. It gives +1 to all skills and the attack speed will help with laying down traps. I head back to normal so I can farm up some chipped gems for cubing up runes. And I find one right in Bloodmoor. 3 tholes and a chipped topaz will create an am. And with an am, towel, and a perfect ruby, we roll 2 sockets in our Grim Shield for the rune word, Rhyme. Now to create Rhyme. Shale and Eth. Rhyme is a fantastic rune word, particularly for the Cannot Be Frozen. This has a great block rate, gold, magic find, and of course, resistances. We make our way through a viper and a soul-infested frozen river to Anya. Remember to use Mind Blast and Cloak of Shadows to help control the mob so that you aren't overwhelmed. I go back to Act 1 and shop at a car for a life tap wand. This will help my mercenary out a bit for when I can't take things down quick enough with lower resistance. Nightmare Ancients. Remember to load up on as many potions as needed for the ancient fights. I first start by throwing down all my traps and readying life tap. Use your Shadow Warrior as a distraction so there isn't as much pressure on you and your mercenary. Always try to separate the ancients to make it a little bit easier to deal with. For these fights, as I want to make sure that my mercenary survives, I only use life tap wand and not lower resistance. Constantly load up on your traps and use Fire Blast in between. Alternatively, you can use Shock Web as well, especially against fire immunes. Korlik was first to take down, followed by Talik. Talik usually being one of the more scarier bosses to deal with as his whirlwind can be deadly. The throne room took a little bit to clean up as it was filled with souls, and souls being immune to lightning can be a little bit of a problem. Remember to use Cloak of Shadows often so souls aren't able to see you and fire blast them away. For each of these waves, make sure to load up on your traps. Here I switched to Shockweb as it has a greater AoE. Make sure to throw a few death sentries out to help prevent resurrecting of minions in the first 2 waves, and to add some additional damage. For wave 2, Akmil is unfortunately lightning immune, so we have to switch to Fire Blast here instead. Even though lower resist removes the lightning immunity from him, he still has a ton of resistances towards it, and it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. Wave 3 can be a little bit of a challenge as most of them are also lightning resistant. Be careful of the Hydras here as well as they can quickly take out your mercenary. When kiting minions out of the throne room, it can usually be a good practice to clear out the throne room beforehand as to not run back into monster packs previously there that can cause more problems. Wave 4 can always be a tad bit scary because of how fast they are. I use Cloak of Shadows here to nullify their onslaught. Mind Blast can always help here in this situation. Remember that Cloak of Shadows will not do much if the monster is already in melee range of you. This wave took a bit to take down as the monsters will regen after running away when affected by Cloak of Shadows. On wave 5, Cloak of Shadows has no effect on the minions of destruction, so here we had to switch over to Mind Blast instead. I also use lower resistance instead of life tap for this fight as it seems to be a bit more effective and my mercenary wasn't dying as often. And at the end of all that, we reached level 72. Currently I'll be saving the stat point up, but we will be throwing our skill point into Death Sentry. Nightmare Bail time. I immediately throw lower resistance on him for this fight instead of life tap as I feel I can do more overall damage with it and my mercenary shouldn't have too much of an issue if I supply him with enough potions. If you are having problems with your mercenary or traps targeting the wrong bail, you can always go back to town to despawn him. Remember that Players 8 does take a bit more time than Players 1 settings, so it does require a little bit more patience, even if you do have a lot of damage. Make sure to constantly keep lower resistance up and throw out those traps. If Bale's Hoarfrost seems to be a problem, try to position yourself up against the wall so you aren't knocked back too far. Eventually, with enough lightning bolts to Bale's face, he'll get a migraine and throw up delicious loot. Congratulations, Conqueror. Now it's time for hell. Enjoyed the video? Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more videos. Playing along? Post a comment below of your findings so far. Or you can watch live at twitch.tv/AlaraShade.